You?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll start the class. I don't know whether some more to join or not. So today we'll discuss the topic biochemistry of digestive disorders, right? So this in this topic we'll discuss some of the mechanism or the causal factors or some of the disease that may arise due to digestive problems. Okay, because of digestion. So some of the problems may arise, and what are the biochemistry behind that today we'll discuss, right? So coming directly to the first digestive disorder, that is the lactose intolerance. Lactose intolerance is a very common digestive disorder. It's a very common digestive disorder, lactose intolerance. So major causative agent or causal factor for this disease is that defect in the enzyme lactase. Okay, so defect in the enzyme lactase. Lactase is one of the enzyme which is concerned with or which main function is digestion of the lactose, the disaccharide lactose, right? So if this enzyme is defect, then this leads to a condition called lactose intolerance. It is a very common disaccharidase deficiency in humans. The deficiency of lactose or defect in the lactase is very common in human beings, and it is the most common disaccharidase deficiency in human beings, you can say. More than half of the world's adult population is affected by this lactose intolerance, right? You know, the half of the world's adult population is affected by this lactose intolerance digestive disorder, which arises due to defect in the enzyme lactase, right? More commonly, this lactose intolerance is found in the Africans and Asians. Okay, frequently found in the Africans and Asians as compared to the Europeans. Okay, so this is a common disorder. It's a common digestive disorder that is prevalent or most commonly found in case of Africans and Asians as compared to the Europeans, right? And about 90% of the adult Asians are lactase deficient. Okay, 90% of the adult Asians. So this deficiency is not found in the children. So this type of problem it does not found in the children. Lactose intolerance. Children are having lactase so that they can digest the milk. You know it, right? Milk contains the disaccharide lactose, the sugar. The sugar present in the milk is the lactose. So this is not a problem in case of children or infants. Okay, this is a problem. This is a digestive problems that is found mostly in the adults, right? Because in the children or infants, you will not find the defect or deficiency of the lactase. So the exactly the cause is not known why the lactase got deficient in case of adults, but there is a fact that reduced production of this lactase rather than this alteration in the enzyme activities in adults is the major cause for this intolerance to this lactose. Okay, so reduced production of lactase enzyme. Okay, reduced production of lactase enzyme is the major causative agent for the lactose intolerance. Okay, it's the major factor responsible for the lactose intolerance. There is no alteration in the enzyme activity as such, right? There is no alteration in the enzyme activity, but the problem is that there is reduced production of this enzyme in case of adults. That's why this problem, this digestive disorder arises, lactose intolerance. So The simple treatment for this digestive disorder is that just restrict the lactose in your diet. Just restrict the lactose in your diet. So particularly the dairy and dairy products, okay, which are rich in this lactose disaccharide or this lactose sugar, right? This is sugar, right? It's a disaccharide, it's a carbohydrate. So these foods rich in this lactose should be avoided or should be restricted in your diet, so that you will not suffer from this problem. Did you get it? Did you get this point, this lactose intolerance?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so coming to the next, another point is that if you, in spite of this problem, in spite of this disorder in your in the individuals, if they continue consumption of lactose, okay, by these individuals whose lactose intolerance is there, okay, the individuals having lactose intolerance, if they continue to consume this lactose, then another problem, they develop a typical symptoms of flatulence. Okay, they develop a typical symptom of flatulence. So the individuals suffering from this lactose intolerance, generally it is recommended that they should restrict, they should avoid the lactose in their diet. Okay, most commonly they should avoid the dairy and dairy products in their diet. Okay, then there will be no problem. But in spite of the problem, if you consume lactose, then it leads to a symptom called flatulence. Okay, then describing in detail what is flatulence. Actually, this is increased intestinal motility in this case. What do you understand is increased intestinal motility? There will be cramps. Okay, there will be irritation in the bowel. Okay, there will be irritation in the bowel irritation you will feel. There will be cramps. There will be increased motility of the intestine. Okay, so this is the characteristic symptom or features of the flatulence. Okay, characteristic feature of this flatulence. Okay, so the it mostly occurs after the ingestion of certain carbohydrates. Okay, these flatulence problems mostly arise after ingestion of certain carbohydrates. Okay, so certain carbohydrates, they are responsible for causing this type of increased motility of the intestine, or any cramps or any irritation of the intestine. Okay, bowel or intestine. Okay, so particularly the carbohydrates, that is generally not monosaccharide. Actually, human beings are having an efficient digestion and absorption system for the monosaccharides. For the monosaccharides, there is no problem for the individuals, right, or for the human being. But the particularly the disaccharides or oligosaccharides, okay, and the polysaccharides, these are not hydrolyzed by the alpha amylase enzyme, and other intestinal enzymes cannot be absorbed. Okay, so these carbohydrates like disaccharide, oligosaccharide, and polysaccharide. So disaccharide, oligosaccharide, and polysaccharide, if these are not hydrolyzed either by alpha amylase and other intestinal enzymes, they will not be absorbed in the intestine. Once they will not hydrolyze, they cannot be absorbed. But the monosaccharide, the problem is not there. They can be easily absorbed. As you know, monosaccharides can be easily absorbed and easily digested, and hence can be absorbed. But the problem is with particularly the disaccharides or oligosaccharide, you can say, and polysaccharides. Okay, so oligosaccharide and polysaccharide hydrolysis or digestion, if not proper, is not by the concerned enzymes like alpha amylase. As you know, human beings are having efficient system for carbohydrate digestion absorption, but the disaccharide, polysaccharide, or oligosaccharide, if they are not hydrolyzed, then they will not be absorbed. But what will happen then? Then the bacteria which are present in the ileum, lower part of the small intestine, they degrade this oligosaccharides and the disaccharides, and they liberate and release monosaccharides. which can be metabolized by them. Okay, so got the point? So if these oligosaccharide and polysaccharides, they are not hydrolyzed by the alpha amylase and other enzymes, they are then taken over by the bacteria. So bacteria present in the lower part of the small intestine, they degrade these di and oligosaccharides and they release monosaccharides, okay, which can be metabolized by them also. Once they release the monosaccharides from the disaccharide and polysaccharides, they can be easily metabolized by the bacteria also by them. Okay, so during this utilization or the metabolism of these monosaccharides by the bacteria, they release gases like hydrogen, methane, and carbon dioxide. In addition to that, in addition to these gases like hydrogen, methane, carbon dioxide, they also release certain lactate and short chain fatty acid are also released. So these are responsible for causing the flatulence in the individuals concerned or the individuals suffering from the lactose intolerance. Did you get this point or not? Did you get this point? Why the flatulence arises? Yes. Anybody can respond, please. Did you get this point? Yes, Haka, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, and could you get this point? What I'm telling? What is the flatulence? How it arises? Yes, Satakshi, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Satakshi is there. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, did you get this point? Flatulence. So, the individuals having the problem of lactose intolerance, if in spite of restricting or avoiding the lactose-rich diet in their lactose-rich diet, if they go on consuming this lactose in their food, go on consuming lactose, then they leads to this condition called flatulence. Okay. So in this there is increased intestinal motility, cramps, and irritation. Okay. So particularly certain carbohydrates are responsible for this. So particularly the oligosaccharide and polysaccharides, which are generally hydrolyzed by the alpha amylase and certain other intestinal enzymes, if these are not properly hydrolyzed, then that will be hydrolyzed by certain bacteria present in the lower part of the intestine. Okay, so these bacteria, once they hydrolyze this oligosaccharide and polysaccharide, then they will be releasing certain monosaccharide. You know, disaccharides are composed of monosaccharide units only. So once these are degraded or hydrolyzed by the bacteria concerned in the small intestine, they will release or liberate these monosaccharides, and which then get metabolized by them. So this metabolism of this monosaccharide by this bacteria, intestinal bacteria, they release certain gases like hydrogen, methane, and carbon dioxide. In addition to these gases, they also release certain other substances like lactate and short chain fatty acids. Okay, so these are responsible for causing the flatulence. Okay, so we discussed two digestive disorders. One is lactose intolerance, then continuously flatulence. Now coming to the this in continuation of this flatulence, this can also arise or this can also occur by ingestion of certain leguminous seeds. Okay, ingestion of certain leguminous seeds like Bengal gram, red gram, beans, peas, and soybean. Consumption of these leguminous seeds also responsible for causing this flatulence. Okay. Actually, several non-digestible oligosaccharides. Sorry, this is a spelling mistake. Non-digestible oligosaccharides. Okay. So, because of these non-digestible oligosaccharides, which are degraded by and utilized by the intestinal bacteria, they cause the flatulence. Okay, so the non-digestible oligosaccharides which are present in the leguminous seeds like this Bengal gram, red gram, and beans, so they are utilized, they are hydrolyzed, they are degraded and utilized by the bacteria present in the intestine, and they cause the flatulence. Okay. If you remember, raffinose, one trisaccharide we had discussed in the carbohydrate chapter. Raffinose, one trisaccharide containing the 3 monosaccharide units, glucose, galactose, and fructose, is one of the predominant oligosaccharide present in these leguminous seeds also. So, raffinose, the trisaccharide containing glucose, galactose, and fructose, is one of the predominant oligosaccharide which is found or present in these leguminous seeds. This is also degraded, hydrolyzed, or utilized by the bacteria present in the lower part of intestine, and they cause the flatulence by releasing the different gases like hydrogen, methane, okay, in addition to short chain fatty acid, lactase, etc. Okay, so this is all about flatulence. What are the different factors responsible for the flatulence, how it occurs, okay, what is the biochemistry behind this flatulence, okay. Now, coming to the next digestive disorder, that is the sucrase deficiency. Okay, sucrase deficiency is not very common, but this is also this deficiency is also encountered in certain category of individuals. Certain individuals like the deficiency of the enzyme sucrase. Okay. Sucrase is responsible for the digestion of the disaccharide sucrose, as the name sucrase, responsible for the digestion of the sucrose, right? So, because of the deficiency of the enzyme sucrase, the sucrose digestion is hampered. Sucrose digestion is hampered. That's why the individuals develop intolerance to the dietary sucrose. Okay, because of the deficiency of this enzyme, the individuals develop intolerance to the disaccharide sucrose. So about 10% of Eskimos of Greenland and 2% of North Americans are affected by this disorder. Okay, generally this is not found in the Asians or Africans. Okay, not found. This deficiency is not found. But the Asians and Africans, they mostly suffer from the lactase deficiency, leading to the condition of lactose intolerance. Okay, so this is the deficiency, sucrase deficiency, another digestive or disorder that may arise because of the dietary deficiency, so because of the deficiency of the enzyme sucrase. So similarly, the simple treatment is that restrict or avoid sucrose in your diet. The individuals having this sucrase deficiency should avoid or restrict sucrose in their diet. Then that will solve the problem. Okay. So now, so this is the third digestive disorder whose biochemistry we discussed. Now, coming to the fourth digestive disorder is the Hartnuff's disease. Hartnuff's disease. Okay. So otherwise known as neutral amino acid urea. Neutral amino acid urea, right? So actually I had sent the material yesterday to your CR, Haka. All of you could get it?
Yes, sir.
So Haka, please send them. I have sent the material to Haka, your CR yesterday. Haka, are you there or you slept?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please, on the day I am sending the material to you, please communicate it among all the students, right?
Yes,
Please,
sir. Yes, sir.
okay? Yeah, please. So, today also I'll send this material, but after the end of my class, today itself, I'll send the material to Haka, then Haka will forward to all of you, right? Okay. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
All of you are there?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay. So now, coming to the next digestive disorder is the Hartnuff's disease or neutral amino acid urea. Okay. The name Hartnuff It has been derived from the family who suffered from this disease first, or from the family where it was first discovered. Okay. It is as per the name of the family from where the disease was first discovered. Okay. So it is characterized by the inability of the intestinal and renal epithelial cells to absorb the neutral amino acids. Okay. So in this disease, there is impaired absorption of the neutral amino acids. Okay, that occurs because of the defective intestinal and renal epithelial cells. Okay, the intestinal and renal epithelial cells do not absorb the neutral amino acids. Okay, that's why it otherwise known as neutral amino aciduria. Neutral amino aciduria, right? So the tryptophan absorption is most severely affected in this disease. Tryptophan absorption is most severely affected in this disease. Okay, so Gargi is there in this class. Gargi,
Yes, sir.
did you get the material yesterday? What you are asking for, I had sent to Haka, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So today he will send you, right?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Then next disease is the we are continuing the Hartnup disease. So the tryptophan absorption is severely affected in this disease. Okay, Hartnup disease. So the typical symptoms of pellagra are observed in these patients. Okay, pellagra, which occurs due to deficiency of niacin, one vitamin that is called niacin. So niacin deficiency leads to a disease conditions called pellagra. So the symptoms, what are the symptoms that are there in the pellagra? Similar kind of symptoms are observed in this disease. Okay, similar kind of symptoms will be observing in this disease, that is Hartnup disease. Okay, why? Because there is impairment in the conversion of the tryptophan to NAD plus and NADP plus. Both are, both are the coenzyme forms of this niacin vitamin. So NAD plus and NADP plus, both are the coenzyme forms of this niacin. Okay, so there is impairment in the conversion of this tryptophan to this niacin coenzymes like NAD plus and NADP plus. That's why the symptoms of pellagra are observed in this patient or in this individual suffering from this Hartnup disease. Okay, so this is the fourth digestive disorders that we discussed, and this, the biochemistry of this disease is like this. Tryptophan absorption is affected. Okay, tryptophan absorption is affected. There is impairment in the conversion of tryptophan to the NAD plus and NADP plus, the coenzymes of the vitamin niacin. Okay, and pellagra type kind of symptoms are observed in this disease. Okay. Now coming to the next, just a minute. Hello, Jolimpuya. Hello, Jolimpuya. It is a request all of you. If you want to join this class, please join within 5 to 7 minutes maximum. Now Jolimpuya is requesting me to admit him to join these classes. And I have covered 4 diseases already. Okay. Then what is the fun of joining these classes after 35 minutes of my class? Okay. Don't be so casual. Okay. Don't be so casual. that it is online class, we are going, everything will be passed, no problem. Don't take it as a means opportunity not to attend the class by switching on the mobile. I will go somewhere else. It's not a good thing. Okay. Even if it is online class, we are after a lot of problems, we are taking the classes. You know it or not? This is a severe, difficult time going on, right? So don't take it casual. That after 30 minutes I will join. After 35 minutes I will join, just to show my face. Okay, just to have a attendance. I'm not taking attendance. Okay, it is up to you if you attend the classes or not. Okay, my duty is to take the class. Whether you will attend the class or not, that is not my headache. Okay, that's why please sincere and join within 5 to 7 minutes. And don't take it casual. That online class is going on, everything will be done. No, it should be everything. You should. In the class I have told you many times. Be sincere from the very beginning. Don't be so casual. You are in second year. Lot of you are very young stage. Be hardworking, right? Be hardworking. Okay. Be sincere. Don't take it casual. Online classes there, everything. No. You should be sincere. It's not like that. Class means you should join within 5 to 7 minutes. It's not that after 35 minutes you will join the class. Okay. So now, coming to the next digestive disorder is the steatorrhea. Steatorrhea, right? Whatever the disorder, digestive disorder till now we have discussed, these are the that like the sucrase deficiency or the lactose intolerance or the flatulence, all of these are disorders of the carbohydrate digestion. Okay, so steatorrhea is a disorder of the lipid digestion. Okay, it is a digestive disorder arises due to lipid digestion, arises due to defect in the lipid digestion. Okay, so in this disease there is lots of lipids in the feces. You will find lipids in the feces. Okay, that is the condition called steatorrhea. Okay, occurrence of lipids in the feces. Okay, the causes of this steatorrhea can be first cause is that defect in the secretion of bile or pancreatic juice into the intestine. The first cause. Defect in the secretion of bile or the pancreatic juice into the intestine. Second cause is that impairment in the lipid absorption by the intestinal cells. Okay, impairment in the lipid absorption by the intestinal cells. These are the two important causes for the steatorrhea, the digestive disorder that arises due to the defect in the lipid digestion. So that lipids will appear in the feces. Okay. So the defect in the secretion of bile and the pancreatic juice into the intestine, that's the first cause. Another important cause of this steatorrhea is the impairment or defect in the lipid absorption by the intestinal cells. If the intestinal cells do not absorb the lipid properly, and there is a defect in the lipid absorption by the intestinal cells, that also leads to this steatorrhea condition. Okay, this disorder. Okay, this disease is commonly associated with the pancreas and biliary obstruction and severe liver dysfunction also. Okay, so this steatorrhea condition is commonly associated with this pancreas or any biliary obstruction. Okay, pancreas, and also in case of severe liver dysfunction or liver disorders. Okay, so this is the steatorrhea. This is the biochemistry or for this disease, biochemical mechanism for this occurrence of this disease, steatorrhea. Now, moving on to the next slide or next digestive disorder is the cholesterol stones. Cholesterol stones is the next digestive disorders, cholesterol stones. Okay, so this cholesterol stone formation in the gallbladder is a frequent health complication. Gallstones, you must have heard this, that many individuals, they develop the gallstones. this disease, cholesterol stones. That is cholesterol stone formation in the gallbladder is also known as gallstones. Okay, it is a frequent health complication observed in certain individuals. Okay, so it is more commonly observed in the females. These cholesterol stones or the gallstones in particular is more commonly observed in the females than the males. Okay, and particularly associated with the obesity. This gallstone condition is particularly associated with the obesity. Okay, obese individuals, they mostly develop this the gallstone condition. Okay, obese individuals develop these gallstone conditions more commonly observed in the females as compared to the male population. Okay. Actually, what happens when the liver secretes bile? It formed when the liver secretes bile, and that gets saturated with respect to cholesterol. Okay, liver secretes bile that contains phospholipid, bile acids, and that gets super saturated with respect to cholesterol. Then this gallstone arises. So the bile containing this phospholipid and bile acid, when gets super saturated with respect to cholesterol, then this cholesterol formation, stone formation in the gallbladder or gallstone condition arises. Clear? So this is the sixth digestive disorder that we discussed. Okay, that is the cholesterol stones in general or the gallstone in particular. You can call it as also gallstone. Okay, now moving on to the next digestive disorder is the peptic ulcers. Peptic ulcer is the next digestive disorder. So the this peptic ulcer comprises gastric and duodenal ulcers. Okay, both are collectively termed as peptic ulcer. So peptic ulcer is comprises the gastric ulcer as well as the duodenal ulcer. So both gastric and duodenal ulcer are collectively termed as the peptic ulcer. Okay, so it occurs due to the autodigestion of the mucosal layer. Okay, autodigestion of the mucosa by the gastric secretions. The gastric secretion mostly contains the enzyme pepsin and the acid, that is hydrochloric acids. Okay, so the autodigestion of the mucosa, okay, mucosal membrane, the autodigestion of the mucosal membrane by the gastric secretions like pepsin and HCl is responsible for this peptic ulcer formation in the gastric, means stomach and duodenum. Okay, ulcer formation in the stomach and duodenum because of the autodigestion of the mucosal membrane by the gastric secretions like pepsin and hydrochloric acid. Okay, so the gastric ulcer is mainly caused by bacteria called Helicobacter pylori. Helicobacter pylori is the bacteria which is mostly responsible for causing this gastric ulcers. Okay, Helicobacter pylori, which lives in this mucosa, gastric mucosa. You will find this bacteria in the gastric mucosa, right? And is responsible for causing the gastric ulcer. Okay, this bacteria actually induces the chronic inflammation of the stomach tissue. Okay, chronic inflammation in the stomach tissue, which then gets exposed to the acid damage. Okay, first this bacteria causes inflammation in the stomach tissue, and the stomach then gets exposed to the gastric secretions like hydrochloric acid, and thus gets damaged due to this hydrochloric acid. Okay, so the mucosal membrane gets damaged or gets digested. Okay, first because of the inflammation, the mucosa again gets exposure to this secretions like hydrochloric acid, and thus gets damaged because of the acid, hydrochloric acid, and leads to ulcer formation in the stomach. Got this point? So the two factors responsible is that One is the bacteria Helicobacter pylori present in the mucosa, gastric mucosa, that first initiate the inflammation. Rather, it causes induces chronic inflammation in the stomach tissue, which then gets damaged. Further gets damaged. The condition was the bacteria induces inflammation in the stomach, which gets further aggravated because of the acid damage, because of the gastric secretion which contains the acid. Okay. Another condition is called achlorohydria, is a less serious digestive disorder where there is failure to secrete this gastric hydrochloric acid. Okay, achlorohydria is also another not so much serious digestive disorder, but it involves the failure to secrete the gastric hydrochloric acid. Okay, so this is all about regarding the peptic ulcers, how it occurs. The bacteria as well as the gastric secretions containing the hydrochloric acids, both are responsible for causing the ulcers in the stomach as well as in the duodenum. Okay, now coming to the last digestive disorder, that is the pancreatitis. What is the biochemistry behind this? Let us discuss this pancreatitis, the last digestive disorder. As you know, the pancreatitis means it refers to inflammation of the pancreas. Okay, inflammation of the pancreas. So this acute pancreatitis is caused by the autodigestion of the pancreas. Okay, autodigestion of the pancreas due to the unusual conversion of zymogens into the active enzymes. Zymogens are the inactive enzymes, okay, or proenzymes. Zymogens are called as proenzymes or inactive enzymes. So because of the conversion of these zymogens into the active enzymes by the help of trypsin, the pancreas gets auto-digested, and this leads to the acute inflammation of the pancreas or acute pancreatitis. Clear? What is the cause of this acute pancreatitis? Because it arises due to auto-digestion of the pancreas because of the conversion of the zymogens or proenzymes into the active enzymes. Okay. So it is a very life-threatening disorder. This acute pancreatitis is a very life-threatening disorder. And previously we have discussed the clinical enzymology, that the increased measurement of the serum amylase is one of the diagnostic marker for detection or for the diagnosis of the pancreas. We have discussed in the clinical enzymology, the first class. If you remember, the measurement of serum amylase, which is highly elevated or increased in acute pancreatitis, is one of the important diagnostic marker of the pancreatitis, amylase, right? And excessive consumption of alcohol for a very long duration is also considered one of the prime factor for this chronic pancreatitis. Okay, excessive consumption of alcohol for a longer duration is also one of the major factor for this chronic pancreatitis. Okay, major causative factor for this chronic pancreatitis. Okay, you could get it. What is pancreatitis? How it occurs? Okay, what is the biochemistry behind this pancreatitis? Okay, so this is all about the biochemistry of different digestive disorder for the today's class. Okay, so all of you could get something, could understand something. What are the biochemistry behind different digestive disorders? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay, then today I'll send the materials for this class to your class representative, that is Mr. Haka. Okay, and Haka, please communicate the materials to all of your students. Is it okay, Haka?
Okay, sir.
Okay,
sir.
thank you so much. Thank you all of you for attending the classes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.